Confidence isn't what you think it is, and most guys get this wrong.
We're going live.
We'll do it live.
This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
Edging that algorithm this morning. Happy Wednesday, guys. Man, I felt like absolute dog water lately, but the show must go on. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, even if I have the Rona. Man, ask the guys in the fitness accountability group. If you guys are in Beer Club, ask the guys who are in the fitness accountability subgroup. I'm dying of Rona over here, but I'm still going out. I'm still running my 4 miles a day. I'm still doing my gym workouts. Mama didn't raise no biznatch. All right. And I made a promise to myself back in 2016 that I was going to work out Monday through Friday, no matter what, unless like, I'm traveling and I just can't possibly do it, or, I'm on my deathbed because of the Rona, but I'm not on my deathbed. I kind of feel like garbage, but I can still go out and run. I just run a little bit slower than I normally do, but no excuses. Right. And if it's a travel day, I make it up on the weekend, so no matter what. Anyway, let me ask you guys, ever feel like no matter what you do, she just isn't as into you as she used to be? You try to be nice, you try giving her space, and yet nothing seems to work. She's distant, uninterested, and maybe even pulling away completely. If you've ever felt like you're walking on eggshells, constantly second guessing yourself or wondering why she's suddenly not in the mood anymore, you're not alone. This happens to a lot of men, but here's the kicker. Most guys have no idea that they are the ones causing it. They've unknowingly slipped into behaviors that kill attraction. And worse, they keep doubling down on the same mistakes. Today, we're going to flip the script. I'm breaking down the 10 key concepts every man needs to reclaim his masculine presence, build undeniable attraction, and shift the dynamic in his favor without playing games, begging for attention, or losing himself in the process. By the end of this show, you'll know exactly why attraction fades, how to stop it, and how to become the kind of man women can't help but respect, admire, and desire. Now, it's funny. I on X, there's a guy he's one of those anonymous accounts that's clearly MGTOW, and he's like, why are you always blaming men? Don't women have agency and stuff like that? It's like, yeah, women have agency, but you can't change them. You can only change yourself and how you show up in relationships. We're going over the key concepts in chapter 6 of my book, Get Her to F You Again. Chapter 6 is all about rediscovering your masculine presence, right? Think of a dominant masculine presence. If you guys have read my second book, Psychology Paradigm, it's part of the Essential Skills of a Masculine Presence series. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. That's all about wiring your mind, your subconscious mind, to have more of a masculine presence, right? But chapter 6 is all about rediscovering that. So before we get into that, I see there's a bunch of people in the house today. CW says, morning, gents. It's hump day. So what's good? Nurshik says, good morning, gentlemen. Happy hump day. That's her favorite day of the week.
So naughty.
She is so naughty.
I'm going to come.
I will. Dodger says, yo, CW, good morning. Ray says, good morning to all. All right, cool. All right, good. Good stuff, guys. Guys, if you haven't done so already, do be sure to like, subscribe, and hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday without fail, even if I have the Rona. If you guys are watching live right now, sound off in the live chat. I want to hear from you, especially if you guys have any questions or whatever. If you guys are watching the replay on YouTube or on Spotify, drop a comment below this video. That all helps boost us in the algorithm. It could be your favorite emoji. It doesn't really matter. Just say something. Let me know that you stopped by, okay? And if you guys find any of this information valuable, do consider sending a super chat. Okay. Super chats help support the show probably more than anything else. All right. So the first concept we have here in chapter 6 of Get Her to F You Again is leadership as the foundation of attraction. I'm going to do an upcoming episode about this because Ryan Stone, I think I mentioned it last week. Ryan Stone has a Married Red Pill article from 2023, maybe 2022. I don't know. Anyway, it's called Shut the F Up About Leadership if she's not banging you, right? I kind of get what he's talking about. Basically, if you're being taken for granted in a relationship and you're trying to lead and she's just not following your lead, like, who are you really leading? I kind of get where he's coming from with that. So it's like, you can't lead someone who's not willing to follow. So what do you do at that point? Right. We'll talk about that later. That doesn't mean that you can't start leading in all other areas of your life, right? Start taking charge of yourself, start leading yourself. Because that's what you really need to do, right? It starts with you. Making decisions for you, becoming your own mental point of origin. Stop worrying about your wife's reactions. Start worrying about what's best for you, right? And a lot of that, what's best for you, is self-improvement, like working on yourself, right? Learning these leadership skills. Maybe your wife doesn't want to follow your lead right now. Okay, cool. Like at work, let me go start taking the lead at work. Let me start leveling up my life in the workplace, right? Let me start setting the tone and leading my own physical health, right? And start going to the gym, right? Stuff like that, okay? So leadership as the foundation of attraction. So women are drawn to men who take charge, make decisions, and lead with confidence. If this hasn't been your entire relationship, it's going to be hard sometimes to turn that ship around. Right? Because you've let your wife get into the driver's seat and she doesn't trust your ability to drive anymore. And a lot of guys have found themselves here, right? One of my clients, bless his heart, really, I would say like 5 years ago, let his wife, dictate the terms of what was going to happen. She set like a boundary and has been enforcing it ever since. And he basically has no agency in that dynamic, so it's exactly what Ryan's talking about. Right. But that doesn't mean that he can't start making decisions and doing other things, right, to start working towards that. You know what I mean? She might not start following, but he could start leading in other little areas, and sort of work up to it. Indecision and passivity diminish attraction and create relationship instability. This is where like a lot of guys are just going with the flow, right? They just show up and like whatever their wife decides to do, like their wife makes the plans, their wife makes all the vacations things, right? Their wife wants to go out, she makes the plans. Otherwise, they're just passive and they just show up and they wait to do what they're told. That's completely unattractive behavior, and it's like, but guys are so simple. Guys are so easy that it's like, it's just easy for them to fall into that role, but that's not what makes women attracted to you. So the sucky part is if you want to live that way, maybe long-term relationships just aren't for you. Maybe, being a black pill doomer MGTOW guy who just gives up on women is the right choice for you. Okay. If you're going to be in a loving long-term relationship with we're past the 8-minute mark with lots of sex, there's going to be some work. You're going to have to be the decider. You're going to have to be the one that's not being passive. You're going to have to be the one that makes decisions, that makes plans and all that kind of stuff. You're going to have to be that guy. If you don't like it, don't get married. Don't get into a long-term relationship, right? Just hit it and quit it, right? There's trade-offs, like, yeah, if you never get married and you're just spinning plates for the rest of your life, you have unlimited potential for unlimited options for the rest of your life. And maybe you're happy that way. That's fine. Some guys are, right? But a lot of you guys want to be in a committed long-term relationship. Well, it's going to take some effort on your part, right? The thing is, though, a lot of guys hear that and they are like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work and I don't want to do that. It's like, because they're lazy right now, But once you make it a part of who you are and you just start doing this normally and it's a part of what you do and you sort of have fun with it. Like I like making plans. I like looking to see if there's anything new in the area that I could take Nurse Chick to. I like doing that kind of stuff. It's fun, right? Nurse Chick, if she really wants to do something, she knows that to just make that decision too now too, right? Like it's never like, hey, do you want to do this stuff? It's like, hey, I was thinking, we should go do this, kind of thing. That's how she brings it up to me. If I find something, I'm like, hey, we're doing this. Hey, I found this cool place. We're going here, right? But it works out. It works out better if you're more decisive and you make plans and you're less passive, right? And then leadership is about providing direction and assurance, not asking for permission and validation. And that's another thing that's a big problem with having the mental model of equal partnership, right? Looking at your wife like she's your partner. Now, some people might say, well, that's just a word. Okay, fine. I know a guy who's been on my show a few times, he says that, it's just a word, man. It can be, but also what tends to happen is if you look at your wife like she's your equal partner, you start wanting her buy-in on your decisions. Well, that's validation-seeking behavior, if you think about it. If you're like, hey, I want to go to this restaurant. Are you okay with that, honey? Like you're asking for her permission. That's a validation-seeking thing. Instead of just saying, hey, we're going to this restaurant, right? Now she can object and say, I don't like that restaurant. Okay, fine. But you're not asking for permission when you're making those decisions, right? But if she says, I don't like that, now you can have a discussion about it. That's fine. But you're not asking for permission or validation. It's more attractive behavior. It's more bold. Women actually respond to it much better. You'll find that you won't really get a lot of pushback most of the time when you say that. I don't think I've ever had Nurse Chick really push back on anything that I said, but she's also just a really cool chick. So, confidence versus ego in leadership. Confidence versus ego. So confidence, it comes from internal security, self-trust, while ego is driven by insecurity. Like you ever hear of ego protection? I used to talk about it on my Woo Woo Wednesday episodes, right? But to oversimplify things, your brain's basically split up into your conscious mind, your subconscious, and then you have this sort of like ego protection layer that protects your subconscious and it protects your paradigm, right? So if you have this paradigm of a certain paradigm, and then you get information that comes in that attacks that paradigm or challenges that paradigm, your ego protection layer wants to fight it, right? It wants to reject it. So a lot of times you'll find that people that get put in like a leadership role or whatever, they tend to have a little bit of an ego about it. They tend to think, hey, I'm king shit, and you how dare you challenge me, you peasants, kind of thing. And so when someone does challenge their authority, instead of listening, maybe trying to understand where they're coming from, have some tactical empathy, they react from emotion, like, hey, I'm being attacked right now. You know what I'm saying? So if you're a confident leader, if someone challenges something that you say or challenges a decision that you make, like you're not going to immediately react from emotion, right? Because your decision's good, but hey, maybe my employee here has a good point here. Let me listen to what he has to say. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't get so offended so easily, right? So there's a difference between confidence versus ego. And true leadership, it doesn't seek validation or force control. So like I said before, if I'm not seeking validation when I pick a place to go eat. I'm like, hey, Nurse Chick, we're going to this place. We're going to the Ship's Buffet on the tonight on the Jericho cruise, right? But if she's like, we had Ship's Buffet yesterday, like let's go to the Brazilian steakhouse, right? That's where I'm not seeking validation by asking her buy-in about the buffet, but I'm also not forcing control because she's like, hey, let's go to the Brazilian steakhouse, and I'm like, yeah, actually that would be a better idea. I don't know. But if you're not so rigid and you're able to take people's valuable input into consideration, you actually earn a little bit more respect that way. People like when they're listen to, especially like if you like think about it. Have you ever brought a suggestion to your boss and your boss just shoots it down every time? You stop bringing him suggestions, right? But if you bring your boss suggestions and he runs with your suggestions, man, you feel really good about that. That's sort of, you sort of respect that guy for doing that a little bit more, you know? Well, women respond positively to, they respond positively to quiet, unwavering confidence rather than arrogance. They also respond to arrogance too a little bit, but still, like if you're quiet and unwavering and you have it confident in like pretty much everything you do, or as most you can do, none of us are perfect. Like women actually respond to that confidence quite a bit. It makes them feel safe and secure in the relationship. And women are typically security seeking creatures, if that all makes sense. All right. Hopefully you guys, I'm not just rambling on. I do have the Rona and I'm dying over here. CW says, rocking the nerd glasses. Dude, I just, this morning, I was coughing so bad and sneezing and stuff that my eyes were watering. And I was like, I'm not even messing with the contacts this morning, man. I'm not even doing it. Screw it. You guys can just drink this in. You drink in dog water, Paul, today. This is what a sick man looks like. Sick man that's like podcasts no matter what. Guys, follow me on social media. The links are in the description. I'm on all the good platforms. Get on the email list if you haven't already. Go to list.comeonmanpod.com. Get the ebook, She's Made You Weak. It explains the betaization process and why women tend to lose attraction over time. And a lot of guys have no idea this is even happening. So if you're wondering why your wife no longer respects you, doesn't want to talk to you, certainly isn't putting out, this is a big reason why. Check that out. Go to list.comeonmanpod.com. And then if you really want to take that information and try to turn things around yourself, get the book that we're talking about today, Get Her to F You Again. You can find that and all my books at books.comeonmanpod.com. They're available in all formats, including Audible, if you prefer audiobooks. Let me play a commercial for that, and then we'll get back to the topic today.
Are you tired of the dead bedroom? Wondering what happened to the passion, the connection, and the spark? Well, here's your answer. Introducing Get Her to Fuck You Again, a red pill guide to fix a dead bedroom, now on Amazon. This isn't about manipulation or tricks. It's about real strategies that work. If your wife has stopped being intimate with you, it's not because the love is gone. It's because the attraction is gone. And that's fixable. This book will teach you the skills to lead your marriage, rebuild your confidence, and become the man she can't stop thinking about. 3 reasons to get this book. 1. It breaks the cycle. You'll learn how to stop doing the same things that are killing her attraction and start doing the things that reignite it. 2. It's practical and proven. With clear, actionable steps, you'll build yourself into the man you were always meant to be. 3. It works for men like you. Paul Bauer has helped hundreds of men just like you fix their dead bedrooms. And now, it's your turn. Don't let another day go by feeling frustrated and disconnected. Go to Amazon right now and buy Get Her to Fuck You Again. Read it, apply it, and watch your marriage transform. The connection isn't gone forever. You just need the roadmap to get it back. And this book is it.
All right. So the next concept is setting and enforcing boundaries. This is really important for guys to learn how to do. They need to be able to tell their wife no every once in a while, right? Or if they need something done that's very important to them, they need to be able to assert that, very seriously. A big thing. I have 2 clients like this where their wives let their kids stay in their bedroom, right? So their kids are sleeping in their bedroom, and the kids have their own bedroom, right? And these aren't toddlers either. These are like, one client, his daughter's 9 years old. She sleeps in the bedroom with them. The other client, I think he's got some like early teens that are sleeping in the same room, right? And it's like, that's the exact exact thing that you need to learn how to be able to tell your wife, no, this isn't happening, right? They are too old to be staying in our bedroom. And you need to be able to put your foot down. But a lot of women are like, oh, but they're my babies, right? Or they're using the children as a shield to avoid having intimacy with you, right? Which is creepy, in my opinion. Like, can you imagine doing that to somebody? Like, that's your thought process. Well, if I have the kids in the room, at least he's not trying to bang me, right? Like, good Lord, can you imagine being in a relationship like that? I don't know. But as a guy, if you don't have the balls to tell your wife, hey, no, no. And that actually happened early on in my marriage with my daughter. My daughter, when they're infants, like it makes sense. It makes sense to have like, a cradle in the room because the baby gets up 7 times a night and mom could just go get the baby and latch the baby on and go back to sleep, right? Like that's fine. But when kids start getting to be 2, 3, now it's time to transition them to their own room. You know what I mean? And sometimes moms have a hard time with that. Moms really have a hard time with that. And that's why they need you as the masculine leader in the relationship to say, no, honey, the baby's going to be fine. Right? Like, you need to lead in that. But a lot of guys won't, because they're too afraid to make their wife unhappy. But the things that make your wife happy are setting boundaries, stuff like that makes them feel more secure in the relationship. That actually, it's like a paradox, right? You think doing what your wife wants will make her happy, but that never makes them happy, right? Doing what they need makes them happy, right? So they need you to have the cojones to go, no, honey, the baby needs to start sleeping in their own room. And then you have to like, if you have to be the one that like gets up and, when the toddler runs back in your room and tries to climb in bed, you have to be the one that picks up the toddler and brings him back and deals with the tantrums and stuff. And it's like broken record, but physically picking up this kid, because you're bigger than the kid, right? Picking up this kid and putting them back in their room. No. And like dealing with that, it can be torture especially you have a challenging toddler, but you have to be able to endure that for the toddler to understand you mean business. Your wife needs to understand that you mean business, and then everybody respects you more, right? But if you're so passive, you can't even tell your toddler no, you got some problems. So boundaries define what you will and will not tolerate, ensuring respect and attraction remain intact. And boundaries are for you. They're not for other people. It's like an example of setting a boundary. Let's say your wife wants to go out with her sloot single friends. And like, that's not something that you tolerate. Like, early on in a relationship, you need to set that boundary by saying, I don't date women that go out with their sloot friends. Okay. That's a boundary, right? Controlling would be like, you can't go out with your friends. You know what I mean? But the boundary is like, I don't do this. If you do it, that's up to you, but we're not going to be a thing, right? That's something that you need to establish these types of things like early on in the relationship. It's much harder to start enforcing boundaries when you've never done that before. You know what I mean? It's much harder. It's much easier to do that from the beginning. A lot of guys didn't get that memo though. A lot of guys don't have these skills. So you got to start somewhere, right? But you got to learn how to do that. Nice guys, if you look at like nice guy syndrome, they often lack boundaries, right? Which leads to resentment and a loss of respect in the relationship. One of my clients, he was telling me that, so a part of the things that I'm coaching him on is being able to like set boundaries even with his daughter. You know what I mean? But he's trying to repair things with his family by being overly nice, right? Which doesn't work. So like, for instance, he wants to go and do things with his daughter, and his daughter's like, I don't want to go. So he doesn't push the issue. And I go, your daughter is your daughter, man. Like, you're the father here. She doesn't get a choice. So you don't ask if she wants to go. Say, hey, we're doing this today. And if she goes, I don't want to, be like, oh, that's funny. I didn't, it's funny that you think you get a choice. Grab your shoes. Let's get out of here. right? And if she's like throws a tantrum and she wants to stay on her phone, I'm like, you got to take the phone away. Like, you're the dad, okay? You know what I mean? Like, you could do that to your daughter. You can be like, no, you're taking the phone away. Like, I pay for this phone. It's, you know, like you could be a jerk like that. In fact, you need to be a jerk like that to your kids sometimes. Right. But he's so much of a nice guy that he's even being really passive with his daughter, and his daughter doesn't have respect for him, you know? So it's like, these are some of the things that guys are dealing with out there that's causing their relationships to erode, and they don't even realize it's happening, you know? So a man with firm yet fair boundaries commands respects and maintains a strong masculine presence. And that's the thing. Like, a lot of the time, the boundaries you're setting aren't unreasonable. You know, like your kids not staying in the room with you, that's not an unreasonable demand. That's a pretty common thing. It's almost common sense if you think about it. So there's nothing wrong with that, but you really have to stick with your guns, you know? And if you don't, they just won't respect you. And, you know, and the thing is, women will not love, they absolutely can't. They're physically and chemically incapable of loving a man that they don't respect. All right. Emotional resilience in relationships. So this is probably one of the hardest things for guys, is having that emotional resilience, because a lot of the stuff women do pisses us off. It pisses us off. And even though we like to think we're the rational beings, you know, in the relationship, anger is an emotion. And a lot of stuff your wife does is to push your buttons to get you to a point of anger. And if she's able to do that, you're failing her shit tests, right? That's what shit tests are. They're trying to, it's her trying to see if she can manipulate you and get you up in your feelings, right? And if she can do either of those things, you fail her test. And women, they don't even know they're doing it half the time. You know, it's just their wiring. And so you have to be able to have that kind of strength and emotional resilience to see what it is and not get so butthurt by it. You know what I mean? Hold on a second. Alex Patino's in the house. What's up, man? What's up, you British cigarettes? I remember telling my ex-wife years ago that the kids have separate rooms for a reason. Yeah. I don't miss those days. Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the toddlers? Like, yeah. Dorothy says, I have a friend who is still traumatized at 35 because she slept in her parents' bed until she was a preteen. She would wake up at night sometimes. They were having sex and she would pretend to be sleeping. That's crazy to me. Luckily, in the guys that come to me, they're not having sex because they're in a dead bedroom. That's why they're coming to me, you know, Dorothy. So luckily the kids aren't getting traumatized by that. But yeah, at least those parents were still banging. But yeah, it's just creepy to me, you know, why people do that. And as the man, like, you need to put your foot down and say, this isn't happening. Right. Okay. But what if he's a liberal man? Liberal man says, no, we're a loving family. We all got to be together. Whatever. Okay. So women test a man's emotional stability to assess his strength and leadership, right? This is what we call shit tests or fitness tests or frame checks. We talk about them all the time on the podcast. It's something that guys absolutely have to learn. They have to learn how to handle those tests that women put us through and like not get so mad about it. And I actually kind of welcome it now. Like, once I learned what it was and what women were doing, like, I think it's funny now. That's where amused mastery comes in, because you see it all the time and you know what it is. And so it's just funny to you now, you know. But a lot of guys get so hurt. They're like, if a woman tests me, I'm gonna dump her. Like, okay, but the next girl's gonna do it too, because they all do it at some level or other. Some do it more than others, but they all do it at some level. You can't avoid it. You might as well learn how to handle it, right? And once you learn how to handle it, it's no big deal, right? It's no big deal at all. But reacting emotionally, whether in anger or withdrawal, like you shut down and you storm out of the house or whatever, all that kind of stuff weakens a man's frame. You know, like, she was able to get to you. She was able to get to you in some way. And if she's able to get to you, she's able to knock you off center. She can't trust your leadership ability in the relationship. She just can't, right? That's why when, like if you read Ryan's book on dread and he talks about like having a gym bag, right? It's all about like, you know, if like, let's say you go to sexually escalate and she rejects you, it's so paramount that you don't get butt hurt by it and then storm off mad, right? But if you calmly are like, okay, yeah, no problem, you know, I got other things to do anyway, and then very calmly and like go do other things and remove your time and attention, it's a much different scenario than getting pissed off and going, yeah, well, fuck you, right? And then like, I'm going to head out. I'm going to go to the bar or something. Like that's you being butthurt and leaving. Like she knows that she was able to get you up into your feels and she loses respect for you and makes her even less likely to want to have sex, right? So you can't be reacting emotionally. You have to be a cool cucumber. You have to be like, hey, no problem. You're missing out. You know what I mean? Staying calm and composed in stressful situations reinforces attraction and trust. You know, if you can be calm under pressure, she's going to trust your ability to lead better. Right. All right. Let's see here. Alex says, I kicked my kids out and I went as far as to buy a security stick for my door that you jam under the doorknob. And if you try to push it, it'll keep the door shut. Nurse chick, you need one of these. You need one of those things under your you jam under the door knob there. So nurse chick, if we ever go over to her house, she comes over to my house mostly, but if we ever go down to her house, she doesn't have like any locks on the doors because like one time one of her youngest daughter like locked herself in a room and it was a whole thing. So she like removed all the locks on the doors. But whenever I go down there, her kids are like, you know, all over the place and can't give her any privacy. So it's like, and then she can't lock the door. So it's like, we just don't go down to her house very much. But if we had a thing to jam under the door, we could be like, F you kids. Yeah. Her kids are old enough. They don't need to be coming in the room anyway. But yeah, we try to keep the kids separate from our relationship. You know, like I have my kids, she has her kids, and then we typically have our kids on the same weeks. So when I have my kids, she has her kids and we don't see each other. Then the next week when neither of us have kids, that's when like she comes over to my house and stays over here for the week. It works really well for us, you know. Works really well. But every once in a while, something will happen where like, you know, we sort of have a mixed day where like I'll go down there when she has her kids or, you know, whatever. But it's very rare. All right, guys, I have a beer club. If you didn't know about it, beer.comeonmanpod.com. I was thinking about last night. This week should have been the week that we have a beer club hangout because normally this is Nurse Chick's week and then she goes home tomorrow. But because of our trip, like she and I have like a weird, like screwed up kids schedule now. So I have my son all this week and next week. So I decided to move the beer club hangout till the 20th. So the next beer club hangout is going to be on the 20th. But what a lot of the guys at beer club are saying is that the monthly hangouts aren't where the benefit is to be in the group. The benefit is being in the Telegram community and swapping notes with the guys. So check that out. But if you guys do want to check out a hangout, wait until next week on Monday, sign up for the group. It's a free trial. If you want to stay in the group after that, stay in the group, right? But if you don't, you can cancel before the trial ends and you don't get charged. Okay. No harm, no foul. It's not for everybody, but we do have like over 50 guys in the group and it's a very active Telegram community. A lot of guys are really leveling up in all areas of their lives. Some guys in there are fixing their marriages. Some guys in there are out in the dating circuit now. Some guys are getting over breakups. Some guys are just in there to lose weight and get healthy. We've got all sorts of guys in there. Some guys are in there for their mental health. We have a gratitude group where we just practice daily gratitude. I haven't been active in the gratitude group lately because every morning I do scripting exercises. So I spend like about 20 minutes every day doing that. And so the last thing I want to do is put out a video. So I haven't been doing that too much lately, but I do post my workouts in the fitness accountability group every day. Even when I have the Rona, damn it. And then guys, if you're having problems in your relationships and maybe you have a dead bedroom situation, you have a hard time setting boundaries, things just aren't going well with your wife, definitely book a call with me. Go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. I'll tell you this. I really only work with guys on a one-on-one level who have been married for probably over 5 years. Just to put that out there. I had a guy book a call with me on, maybe Tuesday. And so I got on the call with him, and he's he's only been dating a girl for like maybe 2.5 years. They don't live together. They don't have that kind of investment where they have that time investment. They have like shared assets, all that kind of stuff. Like if that's you and you're in a shitty situation, like just dump that bitch, right? You're single, right? Like you're not married, you're not living together. There's no reason to keep chicks around like that, right? So I'm not trying to sell everybody on my program, right? And not everybody is a good candidate for the program. But if you are a guy who's been, you live with somebody and you've been with them for over 5 years and you have some shared assets, you have kids together, and the relationship's really going downhill, and it's at a place where if that relationship crumbles, it's going to be a big major deal because finances, having to get a new place, have to get attorneys, have to separate assets, all that kind of stuff. Working with me is going to benefit you quite a bit. Okay. So just note that. Go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. All right. Where are we at here? Oh, we're still talking about this book. Okay. The next concept is the role of assertiveness. Assertive communication is, it's attractive behavior, but two, this is how you don't let people walk all over you, right? And you need assertive communication in order to set and enforce boundaries. The best book, bar none, in the world on how to do this, the language to use, and giving you lots of scenarios to apply this stuff in, is When I Say No, I Feel Guilty, right? If you're in a relationship and you're super passive, your wife walks all over you, your kids walk all over you, you need When I Say No, I Feel Guilty. And you need to read that on repeat and start applying that information, because you are not assertive and you are not setting and enforcing any boundaries, right? But it's super important. And there's a big difference between being assertive and being an a-hole and aggressive. You don't have to be aggressive in order to use assertive communication. Right. In fact, it works better for you, especially in a relationship situation, when you aren't up in your feels when you're being assertive, right? If you are calm and the most calm person will win in a situation like that. So you can be calm and just be very blunt with what you're saying, right? The kids can't stay in our room. The kids won't stay in our room. Right? That's an assertive way of saying this is not going to happen. Right? And then there's techniques out there like broken record. So if your wife starts arguing with you about it, be like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but the kids can't stay in our room. Yeah, right. And you just keep saying that. The broken record is the biggest tool in the toolbox when it comes to that sort of thing, So assertiveness is the outward expression of confidence, decisiveness, of confidence. It's decisiveness without aggression, right? So, if you're a very confident person, it's going to be really easy for you to assert yourself. If you're not very confident, it's going to feel very awkward at first. In fact, the first time I listened to When I Say No, I Feel Guilty, there's a example in the book of a guy who wants his money back for some meat he got at the supermarket. And the conversation that guy goes through to get his money back becomes really uncomfortable at some point, because he's like a bulldog. He won't let go, and he wants his money back, and he's broken recording like a son of a gun. And he just keeps saying it. And everybody that they keep bringing up, like managers and other people, like he keeps going up to him and they keep telling him, no, they can't help him. He has to go talk to someone else. And he's just like, he won't let it go. And it gets so uncomfortable till they finally give him what he wants. You know what I mean? Like that, if you're a confident person, that's going to come easy to you. But if you're not that confident, it's going to seem uncomfortable to you. You know what I mean? So a man who hesitates, seeks constant approval, or avoids confrontation, he loses respect, right? And a lot of guys they're just trying to keep the peace, so they avoid confrontation. They they do anything to squash any kind of tension in the relationship. All that kind of stuff makes your wife lose respect for you. You know what I mean? The guys are like, I'm just trying to pick my battles here. I'm just trying to pick my battles. Thing is that when guys are picking their battles, they try to avoid all battles, you know. Assertiveness communicates strength, ensuring a natural balance of polarity in the relationship, right? And that's if you can do it from like I said, from a position of calmness, because God, I think Ryan talks about it in Dread. Basically, like, was it 55% of what like people pick up from you is body language, and then a certain percentage is tone, and like only a small percentage is what you're actually saying. So that calmness, that calm tone when you're being assertive is really going to make you seem more confident and get the point across, and that she's not going to be like so offended by it, right? Because she's not offended by the tone. The impact of mindset shifts. So transitioning from a nice guy mindset to a leader's mindset is crucial for attraction, right? You can't be the passive guy anymore. You can't be the one that just lets the relationship and life happen to you. You have to take control and like make decisions for yourself, make decisions for the family, set the tone, and start leading that relationship. Start leading the outcome of that relationship, no matter what that outcome is. You know, that might include filing for divorce, right? But that's going to be your decision, right? Most guys love to come on the internet and complain that women file for 80% of the divorces. That's because these guys are so passive that they're like, well, I'm just going to stick it out until she fires me, basically, right? I'm going to live through all this hell until she pulls that trigger. I did the same thing in my marriage. I never would have quit, but that's because I had that paradigm of, you make vows, and it's through sickness and health, through good times and bad times. And like, you never give up. And none of my parents never got divorced, and my grandparents never got divorced. So I was like, yeah, you just suck it up. Right. Well, when you take control of your own life, you start learning this sort of thing. You know that this relationship's not good enough for you anymore. Like, you could be more proactive in that department, and you get to set those terms. You get to go reach out to lawyers. You get to start making a strategy, an exit strategy, right? So that's a part of leadership, having that leadership mindset, like making that decision for you and your own life, not letting others dictate that for you. A growth mindset views challenges as opportunities to strengthen leadership. That's a very good mentality to have. And it's basically a reframe, right? When you look at something that sucks as an opportunity for, improving your skills or a way to level up or whatever, and you know that like once you finish that challenge, you're going to be a better person for it. Like, if you look at things that way, things stop sucking as much. You know what I mean? And then you want to move from a scarcity mindset, like a fear of loss, right? A lot of guys come to me because they're afraid of losing their wife, right? They're afraid of losing the marriage, losing their family, all that kind of stuff. They have a fear of loss. They have a scarcity mindset. But when you switch to an abundant mindset, so knowing your value, knowing that you have other options, knowing that you're going to be okay if the relationship fails, that creates real confidence. And the thing is that guys who have that fear of loss, if they're scared of losing their wife, what tends to happen is it comes across in their behavior. They start acting more needy, more clingy. They start chasing their wife more, trying to make her happy. And all that kind of stuff is unattractive behavior. It actually pushes her away more. Like, women are like cats, right? If you chase a cat, they run away. But if you act like you don't give a shit about the cat like climbs on your lap and wants to show you its butthole. It's the same thing with women, right? If you know that, hey, if she leaves, I'm going to be okay. There's plenty of other women out here. You're less likely to go chasing after her and do all those unattractive things that are pushing her away in the first place, which will make her like you more. It's a weird paradox, right? But if you have that abundance mindset, you're more of an attractive guy because you're not so insecure and needy. You hear me? Okay. Daily practices for masculine reinforcement. I'm a big fan of affirmations, a huge fan of affirmations. I love affirmations. Aaron Clary doesn't like them. I think it's because when he reviewed my book the other day, one of the things, like, he sort of, when I talk about affirmations, he makes fun of it like it's was it Stuart Smalley from Saturday Night Live, like, "Josh got it, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and people like me," that kind of thing. You can look at it like that, and that's exactly what they are, right? They are powerful statements that you say to yourself that seep into your subconscious mind to change your deep down inner paradigm and your beliefs, right? Because once you change your subconscious programming, it comes across in your actions in life. Okay. If you are not a confident person, if you are not a strong leader yet, you can program yourself mentally to be that guy. And you do that with things like affirmations, right? Saying things like, "I am a strong leader," over and over again. Like, if you go to a mirror and look yourself in the eye in the mirror, right? And you say that, you're saying that to your subconscious mind. Okay. If you get up in the morning, like when you're still kind of groggy, and you have things written down on the back of a business card, and you read those out loud like 5 times, your mind's still not, you're still sort of in a sleep state. It seeps directly in your subconscious mind. Okay. If you read that kind of stuff right before you go to bed, it's like your mind tends to grind away. Your subconscious tends to grind away on the last things you feed it before you go to bed, right? So if you read that right before you go to sleep, your mind's just going to be grinding on this all night long, right? You're going to start believing this stuff, and then you're going to start acting that way. Okay. Our actions cause reactions. Those reactions cause results in our lives. Well, those actions come from our thoughts, right? And more importantly, our subconscious thoughts, right? So small, consistent acts of leadership, right? Choosing where to eat, planning dates, that builds natural authority. That's where, when, like, Ryan says, shut the fuck up about leading. Well, these are areas where you can start leading in small ways to start rebuilding start setting that dynamic up, right? So instead of asking your wife where she wants to eat, just say, "Hey, I made plans to go to Chili's tonight. Let's go to Chili's." Right? Small areas of, are how you start building that back up. If you see something needs to be done around the house, you just take care of it. That's taking the lead on something, right? But by doing that stuff, like, you see something that needs to be done around the house and you start doing that kind of stuff, like, and you're not waiting for your wife to tell you that things need to get done. All that kind of stuff builds that authority. Like, she sees that you're setting the tone and leading in these areas. Now she's going to start slowly trusting your ability, especially when things start working out really well, Anyway, practicing boundary setting in all areas of life strengthens a man's ability to lead at home. That's why, like, all this stuff, one of the things I like to say at the beginning of these episodes is that I help men level up with women, and the process of doing that helps men be better in all areas of their life. There's a reason why all this stuff carries over to like your business life, your social life with your friends and stuff like that. It makes you a more respected guy in general. And then men who challenge themselves physically are better equipped to handle emotional adversity. This is why we go to the gym. Discipline and fitness translates to self-discipline in relationships and leadership. That's one of the cool things about going to the gym. It's people respect a guy that takes care of himself, right? They respect a guy that's in shape because they know that guy's disciplined and he puts the work in, So it carries over in all areas of your life. And when you are in better shape, like you feel better, like when you're walking around in clothes and the clothes are fitting a little bit nicer, that naturally boosts your confidence and stuff too. The importance of visualization and mental rehearsal. All this stuff is about programming this into your subconscious, right? It's really, if you really want to go in depth on what I'm talking about here, get the second book, Psychology Paradigm, because that's really what we're talking about in this part of the chapter, is programming this leadership mentality into your head. Okay. But visualizing yourself, like, sitting there, eyes closed, picturing yourself as a strong, confident leader, that rewires your brain for success. It's like a mental rehearsal. And it's a part of just getting that into your subconscious, and you start acting that way, right? You start carrying yourself with more confidence, you start setting the tone more, you start seeing more areas where you can make decisions on, right? You can visualize seeing yourself handling conflict with composure, right? If you sort of mentally rehearse a conversation, like for instance, yesterday, I'm not going to go into it, but yesterday I had to have two pretty negative conversations with some employees of mine. And I hate those conversations, man. Like, those conversations are the worst. I hate delivering bad news. And then on top of that, there's certain people that get really defensive, and then they're going to argue with you about whatever. And so I just mentally rehearsed that, like, how am I gonna, say this? And I was like, when you have to say something negative like that, it's best to keep it to like one or two sentences. Don't give a lot of explanations, and just break it to them like, hey, this is where we're at. Right. And so I visualized myself having that conversation with them, and both conversations ended up, they weren't good. They weren't great. I hate delivering bad news, but they went better than I expected. So visualizing going into something like that really is helpful, Mental imagery, it reinforces confidence, making assertiveness and second nature. Here's the thing too about mental imagery and visualization. Your mind can't tell the difference between what's real and what's imagined. So the more you visualize a certain thing like that, right, the more likely your mind's going to try to make it true when you're in that scenario. You know what I mean? And then the last one is understanding polarity in relationships. This is an interesting one too, because what we're talking about between polarity, we're talking about like masculine. Let's see, what's a good word here? Masculine actions. Let's say that masculine actions, feminine actions. Okay, we can say that. It's the same thing. We're talking about the interaction between masculine and feminine. And if you add the word energy after that, it sounds very woo-woo. And I know, like, the funny thing is, like Rollo hates the term masculine energy and feminine energy, and he doesn't like the term energy. But he does talk about polarity a lot. It's the same thing. We're talking about the same thing. So that's one of those things where it's like, it's semantics type thing. I don't care anymore. I'm like, yeah, masculine energy, feminine energy. You can almost feel it, right? So that's why they call it energy, because you can almost feel it when a guy like walks in the room, he's got a dominant masculine presence. Like, you can almost feel it, right? If a woman walks in and she's just super elegant and like she has that feminine innocence about her, like you can almost feel it. It's like palpable. That's where I would say the energy comes into play. But whatever, if you don't like those words, that's fine. But masculine leadership naturally complements feminine receptiveness, which maintains attraction. And the problem with the relationship dynamics and when things start to fail is usually when a guy starts being more passive, he starts being more having more of that feminine receptiveness. And because no one's leading, she senses a void in that position, and she feels like she has to step into that role. So she starts making decisions. She starts making plans. She starts, doing all those types of things. Well, she's now acting in her masculine, which isn't natural for her. Right. And now that starts building resentment because she thinks that you should be doing that stuff because you're the man. right? And so she starts losing respect for you because you're being too much of the feminine receptive person, right? You're being too passive. Okay. So what tends to rebuild that attraction is if you step back into your masculine role and start taking on all those masculine duties, start taking on those masculine traits. That's the word I was looking for, traits, right? Masculine traits and feminine traits. You start really embracing those masculine traits and let her relax into her feminine traits, her feminine energy. That reestablishes that polarity in the relationship, right? So when a man fails to lead, women instinctively like step into that role, and that fucks up the polarity, right? So you can't let her do that. You have to be the man in the relationship, okay? So confidence and assertiveness allows a woman to relax into her feminine, which that deepens the connection. You know, it's funny. I was telling or my coach Nikki just finished reading my book, and he was started applying all this stuff in his relationship. I think I've said this on the podcast, but he was applying this stuff in his relationship, and his wife was like, "I don't know what's going on, but like I feel like I'm falling in love with you all over again," which is like one of the coolest endorsements I've ever heard, right? And that's coming from him, and I'm like, "Oh, cool. That's cool." Well, the thing was, like, the next week I met with his wife because she's also one of my coaches, right? And she goes, he's been reading your book and I just feel really drawn to him now. And I'm like, good. Okay, that's an even better endorsement. So this stuff works, guys. If you can really step into your masculine, set the tone and lead, and really let your girl relax into her feminine, like, things are going to be much smoother sailing. You know what I mean? All right, guys, that's what we got. Man, you guys are chatting it up in here, and I've been ignoring the hell out of you. Let's see here. Beer club, get in it. CW says, John says, no way. What is this beer club thing you just mentioned? Are the guys cool? Both of these guys are in beer club, of course. Yeah, the coolest guys ever. Guys smashing like as alpha, by the way. CW says, that's how marriage used to be. Both people actually stuck it out during tough times, but overcame it. Nowadays, marriage is more of a covert contract, and it's a shame it's like that. It is. Yeah, it is. No t-shirts, glasses. What did you do to our Paul? Well, I have to be somewhat professional now, so I have to have a colored shirt, and then the glasses are just because I feel like garbage this morning, so I didn't want to put my contacts in. All right, guys, that's all I got for this episode. So that was chapter 6 in Get Her to F You Again. It's available in hardcover, paperback, Kindle, and Audible. If you're afraid of sitting down and reading this book and your wife coming up and asking you about it, you might want to get the Kindle edition or get the Audible edition. They're both available out there. But that's a part of your problem. If you're afraid of what your wife's going to say, that's a part of your problem right there. You definitely need my book. Okay. Yeah. This is dog water, Paul. Remember? Yes, this is definitely dog water, Paul. The term dog water it's a term my son says. He's like, "Oh, I feel like dog water, Dad." Or, "How'd you do on the test?" Like, "Dog water." I'm like, okay, picking up this lingo that these new whippersnappers are putting out. All right, guys, tune in to the podcast on Friday. We're going to be going over chapter 9 in AJ's book. I don't know what I did to AJ, man. Like, AJ, I must have pissed AJ off somehow. We're going over chapter 9 in AJ's book. We're almost done with it. His book is on psychology of motion. But yeah, AJ, man, I don't know what's gone on with him. He won't return my messages anymore. He's left the Dragon Ship group, and he's even left the beer club group, and like without saying anything. And I'm like, "Hey, man, you all right?" And he won't even talk to me anymore. I'm like, "God, what did I say?" But his book is good, so I'm going to keep going through it until we get to chapter 10. So tune into that. We're going to be talking about cultivating emotional durability through discipline. So it's going to be huge for a lot of you guys out there, because the being able to control your emotions is probably one of the hardest things guys need to have to learn how to do. It's the hardest thing, right? Because a lot of us, me too, man. Especially, I had the worst temper growing up. I was like I would lose my shit so easily growing up, and being able to learning how to get that under control over the last several years is probably one of the hardest things ever. I still lose my shit every once in a while, but it's way less than it used to be. I used to lose my shit all the time. So I understand how hard it can be. Guys, if you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, even when I feel like dog water. Thanks for everyone that sounded off in the live chat today. I appreciate you. No super chats today. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. That's okay. Because when you guys don't super chat me, I don't get demonetized. So that's good. Follow me on social media. I'm on all the good platforms. Get on the email list, list.comeonmanpod.com, and get my ebook, She's Made You Weak. And then we talked about Get Her to F You Again. Get that book. You can go to books.comeonmanpod.com and you can get all 3 of my books there. And they're available in all formats. Get in Beer Club. Our next meetup is going to be on the 20th. And then if you guys want to work with me, fix your marriage, go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. That's all we got, guys. We will see you guys on Friday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.